Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So just yesterday, I shared with all of you that America's defendant, Rudy Giuliani, had requested that the bankruptcy judge dismiss his Chapter 11 filing. All of a sudden, he wants to get rid of the bankruptcy case that he's been dragging out for 6 months. So the judge wasted no time. I have to give credit where credit is due. As of today, Giuliani's bankruptcy has been canceled. The judge issued a 22-page ruling, and he wrote, quote, Mr. Giuliani has failed to provide an accurate and complete picture of his financial affairs in the 6 months that this case has been pending. Transparency into Mr. Giuliani's finances has proven to be an elusive goal. And then the judge went on to say, quote, when confronted with complaints about the failure to satisfy the bankruptcy code's obligations as to financial transparency, most debtors will respond by curing at least some, if not all, of the defects. By contrast, Mr. Giuliani has done nothing. So he's saying, we've given him chance after chance for 6 months to provide documentation, to fix the issues that have come up. He's done absolutely zero. Has not fixed anything, has not provided anything. So what this means is that Giuliani's creditors can now immediately go after his assets. And the others who haven't had settlements yet, who haven't taken their cases to court, they can now pursue those lawsuits against him. So Georgia election workers, for example, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, they can now start the process of seizing anything, I think, as far as I know, anything that's not nailed down. So great news for them, but it could leave his other creditors with nothing. And I mentioned this also yesterday because their lawsuits are in the very nascent stages, at least most of them. So they don't have judgments against Giuliani yet. So they now will have to see if there's anything left when Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss get done with him. So I will keep an eye on that. I will definitely let you guys know how things progress. I also have some very damning news about how Donald Trump's final chief of staff was paying his legal bills associated with Trump's attempted coup. So according to a complaint that was just filed by a watchdog group, there were 2 conservative nonprofits who were funneling, or did funnel, about $1.1 million of their tax-exempt cash into a Trump-related nonprofit defense fund. So these new nonprofits that are in question are called Conservative Partnership Institute, CPI, and Personnel Policy Operations, so PPO. There was a 5-page letter that this watchdog group submitted to the DC Attorney General's office, and in it they wrote, quote, there is significant public evidence showing that both organizations may be acting in a manner that is contrary to their nonprofit purposes, which is grounds for their immediate dissolution under DC law. And then the complaint says that CPI and PPO share the same DC address. Coincidence? I think not. And then money has been moved around between these 2 organizations. And in 2022, CPI granted $1.13 million to another nonprofit, to a third nonprofit that's called Constitutional Rights Defense Fund. That Constitutional Rights Defense Fund then provided legal work for Meadows. So, as we all know, nonprofits are not allowed to get involved in politics. On top of all that, Meadows is one of the leaders of the CPI group. He received a higher salary from them than anyone else in the organization. The watchdog complaint says Meadows is listed as a senior partner for CPI. And in 2022, on top of helping him to funnel money to pay for his legal bills, they paid him almost $850,000 for his quote unquote work. They told the DCAG that Meadows' compensation was almost $200,000 more than any other employee at that organization, and it was more than twice the salary of the group's president and CEO. Gee, why would they pay him so much? It's a big mystery. So the watchdog group made the case against both of these organizations and why they should each lose their nonprofit status. So in regard to personnel policy operations, PPO, they wrote, quote, PPO appears to be operating exclusively for the private benefit of a small number of Republican Party operatives. If, as its website indicates, PPO was operated solely to provide legal defense costs to a small group of Republican operatives connected to Donald Trump, then it is operating exclusively for the private interests of those individuals and is not serving any public purpose. So they made that statement because nonprofits are supposed to be used for public purpose. They're supposed to provide some sort of benefit to the public, right? That's why they get tax-exempt status. As for Conservative Partnership Institute, CPI is in violation of the prohibition on private inurement, which may lead to a revocation of its status as a 501c3 organization. Private inurement occurs when a tax-exempt organization's funds earnings inure in whole or in part to the benefit of an organization insider, such as a director, officer, founder, key employee, or major contributor. And then this watchdog group issued a public statement, and they wrote in this public statement, quote, the Conservative Partnership Institute apparently believes it exists above the law as it operates a shady network of groups to seemingly get around clear nonprofit restrictions and move large sums of money without typical transparency requirements. Even further, this flow of money raises serious questions about whether CPI may be using its funds to provide legal defense for its indicted leaders, which would be a clear violation of its nonprofit status. The Conservative Partnership Institute and its leaders must be held accountable. So I will also keep an eye on that. I will definitely let you guys know how that all shakes out, but so much shadiness going on. And isn't it amazing and coincidental that it all revolves around the apricot Antichrist? All revolves around Trump. What are the odds, right? Anyway, I will let you know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like this video. Please share it. That is something that's sorely missing on the channel. I've got millions of views each month, but, maybe 100,000 shares. So a little, disparity there. And that is something that really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So even if you guys can only share it via email, there is a link on YouTube where you can do that. Truly appreciate it. If you can donate, that also really helps to keep the show going. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.